So there's this crazy guy. His name is Rehan. He's got 15 million followers on Facebook. And he messaged me on Facebook and he said, "Hey, Dennis, I'm Rehan from Pakistan." And I'm thinking there's tons of these people from Pakistan and they're like all the other thousands that hit me up.
Yep.
But he said, "I want to meet you in Silicon Valley. And I know that you're super well connected in Silicon Valley. So I know that because I'm so well connected in Pakistan and you're so well connected in Silicon Valley, that if we could bring things together, we could create jobs." And I'm thinking, yeah, sure. I'm going to be speaking at this conference in San Francisco on this date, and I'm going to be off stage at 5 p.m. Meet me there and we'll talk. And I'm thinking, this guy's not going to
gonna
show up.
happen.
He's from Pakistan. He's some random guy from Pakistan because
Yeah.
I didn't even look him up or see who he was. And sure enough, when I got off stage, there's this guy who was waiting down there at the bottom. I'm like, "You're that guy, right?" And he says, "Yes." And he had a rental car
Yeah.
and we had dinner. He drove me to the airport and he told me about his vision. He said, "Did you know, Dennis, that you can hire people for almost nothing in Pakistan if you have training on how to do digital marketing?" He said, "I know you have training on dollar a day on how to do SEO and how to do all this kind of stuff." And he asked me, "Do you know how much the average person in Pakistan makes per month?" Just like an average person, like a housekeeper or a dentist or a bus driver, just like middle class, not poverty, but just like an average sort of person. How much money do they make? Dollars a month. So this just showed me how ignorant I was. And he said, "Dennis, if you can offer them employment at $100 a month, doing the basic things like editing videos and building out WordPress sites and doing all the like setting up Facebook ads and all that, then I have 1 million people that you can hire." I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me." He said, "Come to Pakistan and I'll show you." So I did. I've flown out to Pakistan many times in the last 10 years. And now I'm a celebrity. I can walk anywhere in Pakistan and people will know who I am. I'm some random American and people know me. Not because I'm famous, but because I've been rolling with Rehan Alawala, who is like the super connector
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
country. It's insane. What does McDonald's pay? $20 an hour now, right? And I'm not saying Pakistan is just cheap labor because sometimes I get hate saying, "Oh, you think Pakistan's like India was 30 years ago where it's like cheap offshore stuff." But we have people who are, yes, there's amazing people in Pakistan. I've met people who are billionaires and I've interviewed them on my podcast and all that. Yes, I'm saying that's there. But what I'm saying is the bulk of the population. I'm not saying they're third world. They're a developing country.
Yeah,
Their biggest resource is labor, right? Just like
Yeah.
the Philippines, just like India was 30 years ago, right? It's the same kind of path that companies go through.
Yeah.
Some companies have oil as their natural resource.
Mhm.
Pakistan has labor, 200 million young adults, eager, ready, smart, motivated to learn how to do digital marketing and serve us. And everyone speaks some degree of English,
Okay.
but we have a screening process where they not only have to speak English, they have to write well, demonstrate active listening, demonstrate they could take this video, for example, and repurpose it into an article. And so that's how we screen people. We don't hire them based on an interview or a resume. That's subjective. We say, "Here's a video, here's a podcast, here's a Zoom call with the client. Turn it into an article, following our article checklists." And if they can do that, we hire them at $3 an hour, which is $160 a month or something like that. And then they move up to $4, $5, $10, $12 an hour. One of the VAs that we hired, I know VA sounds derogatory, but they're cool.
No,
Everyone's cool
yeah.
with the idea of VA. But she moved her way up. She
Yeah.
learned how to qualify, went to level 1, level 2, level 3. We have at every level, we have things you have to do. So people will come and say, I should be paid at level 5, right? Says who? Based on what? Can you do level 5 work? Show me that you've done that you've managed clients, that you've hired people, that you've done. Everything we have is completely measurable, right? Like, how good are you at math? Take the math test, demonstrate algebra, trigonometry, calculus, demonstrate that you can do all these things. And it's not subjective anymore. And so we're just trying to apply an objective standard to digital marketing, because digital marketing, as you and I know as agency owners, is very measurable. So you could live in Pakistan in some random remote village that barely has electricity, and you could be making $3,000 a month if you can demonstrate you can do the work. Because does Google care if the person who worked in the PPC campaign is from Bangladesh or whatever? See, isn't that amazing? But you could also say, yeah, my last job, I was VP of whatever, and I should make this amount of money. And prove to me you have the skills. So it's about multiplying myself, right? It first started 35 years ago or so. I had a mentor who was the CEO of American Airlines. And he mentored me and opened doors for me. And you can read all about the kinds of incredible advantages I got. You could say it's like cheating. And I thought, how do I ever pay this back? I've mentored a lot of people too, one-on-one. And then I've started to have those people mentor other people and do group coaching, create a virus, but in a good way. But it's the model of apprenticeship that has always been around since the beginning of time. If you want to be a banker or a locksmith or a baker, butcher, cobblestone shoemaker, whatever, you learn by apprenticing from someone who has master level expertise. And then after 3 or 4 years as a, whatever you call that, an apprentice journeyman up through the levels, you eventually can now open your own bakery and open your own whatever it is because you learned from someone who has done the thing. And I think that got lost in the American model of the MBA and this whole kind of thing because there's it's not that you get a degree, it's that you have on-the-job experience working with a real practitioner. So you already are doing your job in a safe environment. You're actually doing the work. So I thought, in digital marketing, there's a lot of self-proclaimed gurus. And who did they learn from? Oh, I paid money to Richard or it's Branson or Russell Brunson or whoever, all these different people, right? And yeah, that's great. You went to a mastermind or you took someone's course or Ty Lopez taught me social media marketing agency, whatever. I bought his program. Nothing wrong with the courses and videos and all that kind of stuff. But I believe that if you do the thing you say you actually do, run Facebook ads or build WordPress, whatever the Google ads, whatever the thing is, and you leave a paper trail, then it should be documentable, clear enough that someone else can follow your recipe and thus other people can achieve the same result. And it's not a secret, right? You're getting on a Southwest flight, a 727 tonight in a few hours. Do you think there's a secret on how do you fly a 727? No, you had to be certain. Boeing's had other things going on. But don't cancel me. I'm not a Boeing safety engineer. I did not say anything bad about Boeing. But there's a clear established process. You go to the doctor and they do a CAT scan or whatever it is. There's a clear process. It's based on measurement. It's based on people that are certified. Every other profession, like a plumber or a chiropractor or a fitness trainer or a lawyer, they have to go through a certification to demonstrate they can do a certain set of things. Pass the bar, the MCAT, whatever the thing is, right? Why not in digital marketing? That's what we want to do. And that's how we create the million jobs. Have you ever, there's a couple angles here. So I feel like I'm a soccer dad or whatnot. And I live vicariously through my kids scoring goals. I'm like one of those sorts of parents. You're not giving Johnny enough playing time, right? And so you get to a certain point in life where unfortunately there's more of your life behind you than ahead of you. And I'm not ready to retire or anything like that, right? I'm 50 basically. But Jack Ma said that there's 3 stages. Jack Ma's the billionaire Alibaba guy. He said, in the first decade of your life, you're a worker and you're working really hard to gain skills as an individual worker. And your second decade of life, you are a manager, like a business owner, and you're running the business and doing all these businessy things. Maybe you sell your business, whatever. Yeah. And in your third decade of life is when you're finding ways to leave a legacy and give back and help other people and mentor. And maybe you're like a grandpa and you live through your grandchildren. And so for me, this is like my way of leaving a mark because there's so many other people that can say, maybe it's a selfish thing, that, hey, you know what? I learned digital marketing from Dennis Yu. I learned the dollar a day strategy. And there are people that have grown $200 million a year businesses from me helping them start out from nothing. And I feel so good about that. I'm not doing it for money. I'm doing it because I love hanging out with cool people. That's how I prioritize my time. And if I can be around other people that can scale, multiply, like a Rehan, not because he's famous, but because Rehan can take our training and all he has to do is make a post on Facebook and millions of people will see it. And we're creating value. People are getting jobs. We're working with government officials in Colombia, in Kosovo, in the Philippines, and these other sorts of places. I'm not a politician, but I've met a lot of politicians, and they want to put our training in there. With Brazil, I've flown, all these other countries are sponsoring training for us to bring our programs. I was in India, just to show you it's not an India-Pakistan thing. I was in India a couple months ago with basically the dean or the lady who runs the big university, the biggest university there. And she wants to put our digital marketing programs there for students to be able to come through because she knows, and I told her, I have pictures, it's on Facebook, you can see it, that if students can pass this bar that we set we guarantee them work. Why? Because we know lots of agencies. We know a lot of young adults in America. Young adults is anyone younger than me, so less than 50 year young adult, who are starting agencies that are serving plumbers, that are serving landscapers, serving painters, serving whatever. And they would love to get more people who are qualified in doing things the way we teach: Content Factory, Dollar a Day, digital plumbing, all that. So it's just a great ecosystem. It reinforces itself. And I'm nothing more than a bumblebee that's pollinating, like connecting people on either sides of this planet. Yeah, I'm a fierce mama bear. You do not want to. I protect my cubs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You look at the airline industry, there's more money made in the ancillary services of providing baggage and real estate and IT services than in the airline itself. It wasn't the prospectors that were mining gold. It was the people selling the shovels and all the
Right.
infrastructure. And so we are basically doing an infrastructure platform SaaS kind of play, because in order for digital marketers,
Right.
who are the modern day gold prospectors, to operate, they need tools. And
Right.
we are partners with lots of tool providers. As I'm friends with a lot of these
Yep.
CEOs. And it's not because I'm an affiliate getting my little 1 or 2%, whatever. Because to operate in digital marketing, how many tools do you need? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if we create training together with GoDaddy, with Infusionsoft, with Fiverr, with, I'm naming the ones that we do stuff with, Descript.
Yeah.
And they have it like Gold Tolstoy. They have an incentive to co-create training with us. Why? Because we have thousands of people that are using their tools and documenting exactly how we're doing it. So there, Zapier, for example, is a tool that helps you, like non-programmers, to connect data sources together, right?
Yep.
We're featured on the Zapier blog. So how does Dennis Yu and Blitzmetrics use Zapier to connect all these different systems that run a digital marketing agency? We win by doing that because we show our community this is how you do it. And at the same time, Zapier wins and they win. I'm not doing it for the commission. Fiverr, we've put together training on how do you become a better freelancer? How do you do Facebook ads? How do you do personal branding? I just got a check from them a few hours ago that they send a check every quarter because we put out all this training that they broadcast to their 6.5 million freelancers on Fiverr. Fiverr is the world's largest freelancing platform. And we're literally just teaching what we do. Right? Yeah. We have a course on how to do a podcast. How do you set up this video studio with all this stuff here?
Right.
And it's me literally having experimented, messing around, learning how to do this stuff. And so everything that we have done repeatedly, successfully, leaves clues so that we can sell that as a course and other people can follow it, right?
Yep.
We make a little money when there's a course. We make a little money when they're an agency, and there's all these things that happen. Make a little bit of money along the way. But our people make money first before we can make any money, right? You might not like what I have to say. The number one thing is this thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Is this? The Dunning-Kruger effect is the world's largest club that most people don't even realize they're members of. And you can look it up. The Dunning-Kruger effect, to summarize it, is people who they don't know anything about a topic, but they think they know. And so the opposite of that is when people, what is it called? When they actually are experts, but they feel like they're not. The imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So the opposite of imposter syndrome is Dunning-Kruger effect, where people think they know the answer because they wrote a book about this, or because they really believe their logic is this way. It's also called HIPPO, highest paid person's opinion, because the big boss thinks they know because they have 20 years of experience instead of the data. So the way we counter this Dunning-Kruger effect, which is people making illogical decisions because of emotion, because of how they feel, because Dennis is a jerk, because whatever their reasoning is, their excuses, is we say factually, what is the checklist to get this particular thing done? You want to remove a pimple? There's a checklist on how you do that. You want to change the oil in your car? There's a checklist. And you can get all mad about whatever it is. Don't get mad at the math teacher. Don't get mad at the lock that you're not able to learn how to actually do the thing, right? And so this process of learn, do, teach. You learn firsthand, following a checklist. You've done it multiple times to success, proven. Someone else can judge and see that you've actually done the thing successfully, actually driven leads, actually installed the tag properly, and it's firing. Whatever it is, you've done the thing. Then and only then can you weigh in and provide your opinion. My mom, she loves me to death. I love her, right? She's amazing. And she wants to give me advice on how to run agencies and how to build software. And that was at Yahoo. Then, yeah, there's a company called Google. Google, you go come work at Google search engine. And I'm thinking, Mom, I work at a company that's very similar to Google. It's called Yahoo, and I know a lot of friends over there. Oh, Danny, it's the big thing is Google. You need to go work at Google. I'm like, Mom, I know about search. I'm a search engine engineer. Why are you telling? She's reading the paper about how Google is becoming good. This was 25 years ago or whatever. Turns out that she was right, because if I had switched to Google at that time, I would have made a few $100 million instead of the little bit of money I made when I sold my Yahoo. I made some money when I sold my Yahoo shares, but she ended up being right. But she didn't. There's a lot of people that are friends and family that love to give advice because everyone has an opinion, just like everyone has a sphincter, right?
Yep.
But I want to take advice from people who have done the thing. One of my buddies is Mike Pigg. He was the fastest biker on the Ironman circuit, that whole thing. He dominated back in the 90s. You know who he is, right? So he and I would go biking sometimes in the Pacific Northwest. And I would try to get him, because if I can make Mike Pigg sweat and have him cry, uncle, and we would go up these crazy inclines up in the Sequoias.
Yeah.
And neither of us would say anything, because I'm trying to pretend like I'm barely sweating, because I want him to be the one to say, oh, can we slow down? Can we slow down? Because if I can get the world's #1 biking triathlete to say, oh, we need to slow down. Can we just stop it? Yeah. Then I know it's a selfish thing of me to do that, but I've done it a couple times. I'm hanging out with Mike Pigg, and this guy is look him up. You can Google him and see who this guy was, right? He was like the Lance Armstrong before, and he didn't do PEDs or any of that, okay? But I'm going to take advice on how do I bike better from Mike Pigg versus some random dude that I meet who's read books on how to do whatever, right? And you and I know the same thing. Take advice from people that have done the thing. Now, I've spent over $1 billion on Google and Facebook ads. I've got a lot of proof of mistakes that I've made and things that have our common friends and Perry Marshall and all these other sorts of people. So Dunning-Kruger is the biggest problem. The antidote is credible people who have done the thing to give you advice on that thing. But if I were to ask Mike Pigg about how do you set up an A10 Mini, I'd love him to death, and he's a great triathlete and all that, but he doesn't know a thing about that thing. But how many people want to give advice on something they don't know anything about?
Sure.
Everyone would love to give you advice. They're wrong.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's the biggest issue. You would think it'd be like some technical thing or solving some algorithm problem. No, the biggest issue is humans overestimate their competency, which causes all sorts of issues. I'm not claiming my stuff is any better or worse than anyone else. People come to me and say, how about you versus Dan Henry teaches us? Dan Henry's a good friend of mine. I'm not here to try to compete. Yeah, but should I buy your course? Or Ty Lopez teaches a course, or Billie Jean or Perry Marshall has this, David Fox has a course on how to do PPC. Great. But let me ask you. Okay, so I'll give you an example. 5 years ago, someone online said Dan Henry is the best in the world at Facebook ads. And then my followers chimed in on that post and said, oh yeah, Dennis Yu is actually the best at Facebook ads. And then Dan said something like, no, I'm the best. And all my friends said, you should chime in on that post, chime in and say, no, say you're the best because you're better than him, right? Because you spent more and you're connected with people at Facebook and even all these like credentials or whatever. And instead I said, it's a ridiculous question, because best for what? So if you are a concrete coating company and you want to drive more leads and you want to sell more floors, then the best in the world is Marco Cipolla, because he's done this for 200 concrete coating companies. He has a track record. If you're a concrete coating company and you want to generate more phone calls and whatever through drip jobs and whatever system you use to paint CRM, that's the guy who's done the thing. He's done it so many times. He's built a course around it. It's free. There's YouTube videos. If you're a real estate agent, I wouldn't go to the Marco Cipolla. If you're a real estate person, I would look at Tom Ferry's thing. I would look at, there's Jason Pantana. I'd look at Jason Pantana, who has run LSA and Facebook ads and whatever for real estate agents. And he's done it over and over again, right? That's the guy. So there's no, who's the best in the world at Google ads? For what? Like arguably, I'm the best in the world for NBA basketball teams to drive sales through Ticketmaster. Why? Because we've worked with Ticketmaster and made changes to their API so we can get secondary sales and whatever, and configured their system, work with Facebook so that we can put $1 in, and provably, Mark Zuckerberg talked about this in his annual report. Sheryl Sandberg gave awards for us for doing this. Put $1 in, get $38 in provable Ticketmaster revenue. Proven, right? And done it for other teams. But if you are a chiropractor Will that same model work for you? No, you don't
Yeah,
use
of course.
Ticketmaster. The thing you're selling is different. The nature of the customer journey is different. The targeting is different. What you say to them is different. This whole who's the best at TikTok ads, or who's better at going viral on YouTube?
Yeah.
To ask that question is dumb. You're stupid by asking that question, right? I'm not. You didn't ask the question, but I'm
Yeah, I
saying
know,
people
I
ask the
I
wrong
did.
question. You didn't even ask that question, right? Best, I would redefine to your question on who do you choose? Find someone who has achieved the thing that you want, not because they say so, but clearly you can prove it. So Gordon Ramsay's a well-known chef. We're going to eat food in a little bit. And you can watch his YouTube videos, and he shows how exactly to cook a perfect burger. How do you season it? How do you flip it? How do you do the cheese? How do you do the bun? How do you like all that stuff? He literally shows this recipe, right? It's not a secret.
Yep.
I didn't have to pay him $5,000. It's free on YouTube. And I followed his recipe just like he did. And I got a burger that was amazing. I followed the recipe. So I'd ask you guys, follow the recipe. Who has done the thing that you want? You like chicken parmesan? Great. Where's the recipe for chicken? You want chicken cacciatore. Okay, great. But why? But you want beef stroganoff. Don't use the chicken cacciatore recipe. Do you have a recipe? Why don't people talk about the recipe instead of this guru is better than this guru just bought a Lamborghini? He must be better.
Yeah.
Where's the recipe for the thing that you want to do, right? What is the most specific thing that you want to do? You're a roofing company. Okay. And you want to drive more leads through SEO. Find another roofing company that's succeeded in SEO and get their SOPs. What's so hard about that? I've discovered this 35 years ago. I learned from the CEO of an airline. You think the airlines don't have processes on exactly how you board and exactly how you, if the landing gear doesn't work or if a flight attendant doesn't show up, they have all these backup processes. Like avionics, they have 3 levels of backup for avionics, right? Because you can imagine if something breaks, like you run out of fuel or your flight navigation doesn't work or air traffic control is whatever, that you could have a catastrophic failure. So I learned from the airlines. I learned how the airlines operate, and I wanted to build SOPs and digital marketing based on that. Yet I'm a human. I'm emotional. I'm often illogical because I decide sometimes that I know better because I've done it for 5 years. I don't have to follow the SOPs. And I decide to do something and I'm wrong every single time. And I relearn that lesson every single time. You're going to get on that plane tonight. And I bet you the pilot's probably flown for 20 years or something like that. Do you think they're like, you know what? Screw it. John, I'm not going to use the pre-flight checklist. I already know the pre-flight checklist, right? Or do you think they use the pre-flight, even if they've done it for 20 years? Yeah. What if you get on the plane and the pilot makes the announcement, hey guys, today I'm going to try out a new way to fly.
No.
What do you say? Completely new. We're going to wing it. We're going to innovate. Look, I get in digital marketing, you're trying to innovate and be different and unique and authentic and all that, but please, there's the right time and place to be unique.
Yeah.
And just because you're following a process doesn't mean you're some kind of brainless automaton that's just like, you want repeatability in the right, the thing that's unique is maybe some like personality things or your content's unique, but everything else needs to be the same. I built an ad network in 2007 on Facebook, and this is when I had the opportunity to become famous. So Mike Arrington, who was the editor of TechCrunch, which back then was the biggest tech. If you got mentioned in TechCrunch, your servers couldn't even keep up with it.
Yep.
And he called me. He said, Dennis, everyone tells me that you're the one that knows more about this whole Facebook ecosystem and ads and the spam and the affiliate. And I was in the middle of that whole thing. I ran an ad network, which I've come clean on all the stuff that happened back then. Okay. Everyone's had a little bit of that in their past. And I wrote the definitive article on how spam works on Facebook and how the whole ecosystem works and how the money flows and the ads that are deceptive and how they go through the phone companies. The phone companies take half the money because of, like, everyone's in on it. Okay. Just follow the money. I explained how that worked. And it was an eye-opening article. And one of the top articles, I want to say 2008 back then, it just exploded. And before I went on, I talked to one of my mentors, Jillian Music, who's the co-founder of SEO Moz. She and Rand Fishkin founded SEO Moz, which was the big SEO company, SEO thing back then. Yeah, you can look and see me and Rand in different places pretending to fight and all. It's all just for show, okay? It's WWE, it's for show. And Jillian told me, she said, because I said, should I do this? Because Mike Arrington called me up. She said, think carefully. If you do it, you're going to become famous. This is like everyone gets their 5 minutes of fame. You can even be like Hawk to a girl. Like everyone gets their 5 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
But if you do, you're going to get a lot of hate. Because the spammer, you're going to be kicking the bee's nest or whatever it is, and these people are going to get mad at you and claim that you're a spammer and a fraud because when I explain how the spam works, which I did, then all these people, they're going to get shut down. And they'll think I shut them down. Facebook was going to shut it down anyway. I had lunch with Zuckerberg to talk about this thing, right? And we agreed, you know what, this thing can't sustain. You need to I'll shut down my ad network. Everyone else is going to I'll shut my ad network down if you agree to shut down all the other ad networks. Otherwise, it's like you kill one drug dealer and all the other drug dealers step in to fill the void. So when that happened, actually, before I decided to do it, I'm like, you know what? She said, yeah, I'm willing to do it because I have a tough enough skin to take all these haters that are going to say Dennis is a fraud and Dennis is this and Dennis is that. And it's not personal because I don't know them personally. I've never done business with them. You know, like they're going to attack me because I got death threats. So I started traveling more at conferences because I was afraid if I went to my place or maybe I turned the key in the ignition, you know, maybe something. And you don't know. Like I got a death threat 2 days ago, right? And I posted on Instagram from some guy in the UK saying that he's going to, if he sees me, he's going to kill me and cut my whatever out and parade me naked. And some random, I don't know who this person is. But maybe it's AI generated. Maybe it's someone who doesn't like me, who just paid, because you can buy fake fans and fake reviews. And so you don't know if it's real or not. And then I remember a month after that, when this thing happened back in 2008, 2009, I became famous because I went on TV and this whole thing. I was speaking at Affiliate Summit, which is the big conference for the affiliates. And I was on stage, I think, with Sean Collins, who was the founder, and Jeremy Shoemoney. So it was like the most anticipated thing because people thought it'd be a showdown between me and Jeremy and this, all this, who's like the big boss. It's like this Jake Paul, Mike Tyson kind of thing, right? And when I got off stage and I was walking back towards the hotel room, someone came up with a cake and white cake frosting caked me with this whole thing. And I'm just walking with a couple of my friends. He comes up behind me and does this, comes up behind and does that to my face. And I'm not expecting it at all. And then someone was there to record it and then put it on the different affiliate SEO Black Hat World, those sorts of forums. Like, ha ha ha, we caked Dennis Yu. And I don't know. And then I thought, you know what? I could be like Steve Aoki. I could just laugh it off and be fine. So I thought, you know what? This is fun. I don't consider this to be harmful. I don't think someone's trying to hurt me. I think it's just these kids, right? There's a bunch of teenagers. Most of affiliate marketing and social media marketing is kids. And so they're doing that. They don't realize that there's real businesses, there's real humans, there's real lives, there's real things at stake, right? But you never know when there's going to be a real threat. So I don't really ever know. And so every time I go to a new city, I just have to say, you know what? God is protecting me. And if it's my time, it's my time. But because God is my protector, I have nothing. I have nobody to worry about. Right? I've had a lot of close calls in different situations in life, and I've always been protected. I've looked back. I'm not saying I'm like got the magic touch or anything like that, but I have been, so many good things have happened to me, and I consider that a blessing. And I don't consider it me being, people say, oh, Dennis is like a genius or whatever. No, it has nothing to do with me. Everything I've ever had, I always say was given to me. I didn't deserve it or any of that. Everything, you name it, any good thing, I have not earned it. It was all given to me. The harder I work, the luckier I get. I've worked very hard. Yeah. And on social media, you see these highlight moments. These cool places that we get to go to, and you see the great meals. What you don't see is that when the camera's not on, I'm on my laptop working. I'm doing all those unsexy things. I'm not posting those things on social media, but what you're on social media, on Instagram in particular, you see these highlight moments. Oh, they see Dennis and Jake Paul, they're hanging out, and Jake Paul must just goof off all day long and hang out with the hot girls at the pool. No, the guy's working the whole time. When the camera's off, he's working the whole time. I'm working the whole time. Yeah. So I didn't speak English when I was 6. So I was made fun of. And I was put in the classes for, I was born in Dayton, Ohio, but my parents didn't want to teach me English because if they did, I'd have a broken accent. So I learned English from the kids at school. And the kids at school kids are mean. Yes, so they say, and they don't mean to be mean. They don't know any better. But they say, hey, David, if you want to say to someone that you really like them, you call them this, right? And so I just went to the principal's office because the first words that I learned were not the words that you're supposed to say. And I didn't know. It's like walking through a minefield. I didn't know who to trust because people would say this and say that. And like, I don't know. Are they fooling with me or should I say that word or not? And so I remember one time I was in second grade, and the teacher was walking down the aisle and handing back the quizzes scored. And she handed mine back to me, and I said, "Thank you." I was trying to say thank you, but I said thank you. And she thought I said the other thing. She thought I used the F word. Sent me to the principal's office. And then I said, no, I didn't. And I'm in the best English I could possibly try to say, I did not say that. I didn't. Why I got a B? Why would I get mad about that? I'm not mad. I'm not the mad kind of person. I didn't say that. But then it's like her word versus my word. And then, so I got in trouble. And I got in trouble a lot of times for things I didn't do, which wasn't fair. But I said, you know what? Instead of getting mad at those people, I'm going to learn English better than all those people. I was born in America, right? I can understand if you immigrated here and you're from India where you had to learn like what, but I was born in America and I don't have an accent in Chinese. I don't have an accent in English. I just didn't know what the words meant. Have you been around foreigners where they don't know the words you're trying to say?
Yep.
And you see the other people, what Americans do is they talk louder at you if somehow going to understand those words. So people would say things to me, I don't know the word, I don't know what that word means. So saying it slower and louder at me like I'm dumb isn't going to help. I had a second grade teacher, first grade teacher, her name was Mrs. Gore, and she would jiggle my cheeks and say, oh, you're so cute and you're so dumb, right? Because I was cute and dumb and fat. And I'm like, I'm gonna learn English. So I read and read and read, and I studied the freaking Oxford English Dictionary, which is like that thick. And I went to the public library, for example, in the morning before school, and I would read. And after school, I'd walk down the hill. There was a middle school I went to, and then anyway, I would go to the library in the evening. My dad would pick me up at 8 p.m. from the library. And the weekends, I'd go there in the morning and I would read at the library, and I'd get picked up when the library closed. I spent all my time at the library. If I wasn't at the public library, I would be at B. Dalton. If you remember, I think they're like out of business now. Crown Books, I think they're out of business.
Sure.
And I would just go there and I'd read the periodicals. I just wander down the aisles, whatever the topic was, I would just read it. And I just read and read. And I was a loser. I didn't have any friends. So I just spent time with my fictional friends, the books. I read these choose your own adventure books. I remember one summer, the public library had a reading contest. And every time you read a book, you'd go to the librarian and she'd put a little sticker. And whoever you get like one sticker for everything. And they're all the kids' names. And some kids would have 4 or 5 books. And then mine went all the way across the end. 60 books. They ran out of space for me, right? I read way more books than all the other kids. Like other kids, 5 or 6 books for a summer. That's a lot of books. I freaking dominated because I spent all the time in the library reading the books. I love reading books. And the more I read, the more I enjoyed it, the more I became an introvert. And people tend to double down on the thing they're good at, which creates what's like a slanted profile. Because you tend to want to do more of the things that you're good at.
Yep.
So I represented California in the National Spelling Bee in Washington, D.C. in 1988. I made it to the quarterfinals. I didn't win, right? But I made it to the quarterfinals. I'm going to have this PTSD on this. It was cynodont, which is a dinosaur tooth. No, I was so close. It's Cynodont. I had it correct, except I missed the T. Yeah, I just missed the T on it. Yeah. There was so much pressure. There's 50 TV cameras. There's a huge stage. I'm just a child. It's okay. It was there's so much pressure because you have a placard around your neck, and the other person, you can see the people in line in front of you. And when they say the word, spell the word and say the word again, there's like a pause of 10 seconds, and they say, I'm sorry, that is not correct. And then you can just see them go like, and then the next one's up, and they see it like, are they going to make it? Is it? Yes, that is correct. And then it's my turn. Okay, your word is. And they're about to say the word, and you're thinking like, oh, it better not be like a ridiculous word.
Yeah.
But I learned English better than the average American. And I took it all the way to becoming a public speaker. And I thought, this is like my way of overcompensating. Sure. I just wanted to win. I wanted to win because I was abused as a child. I was nearly put in a foster home. That's a whole nother story. But this is going to sound weird. I had these imaginary friends. And these were characters in the books. I had stuffed animals. And my favorite thing to do, which I guess you could look back now and maybe it's okay because of the way you talk to AI or whatever, but I would read autobiographies. My favorite thing is autobiographies J. Willard Marriott, who started the whole Marriott chain. He
Okay.
talked about how he started as a farm boy and
Mhm.
raised the cattle and eventually became hotels. Be like in the LSG Sky Chefs, they started that and real estate. And as I was reading his story, I would pretend to have a conversation. Like, how did you know that when you started the A&W franchise, A&W root beer, and that was really great during the summer because they did the frosted root beer floats and all that. But
Right.
during the winter, people didn't want the root beer floats. They wanted something else. They wanted hot chocolate, so you had to reconfigure your restaurants. Like, how did you know that you needed to reconfigure? How did you know
Mhm.
that drive-throughs were going to become so important? So you had to reconfigure your restaurants so people could drive their cars around. So as I'm reading the books, it's not because I can read quickly too, but it's not that I'm reading quickly. It's that I'm pausing. I'm thinking, let me ask you a question. So I read Grinding It Out by Ray Kroc,
Yeah.
who popularized McDonald's. He
Yep.
bought from the McDonald's brothers, started with 4 locations, then became the whole Ronald McDonald empire, that whole kind of thing. And I would stop and think, so what made you decide to put a layer of cheese on the filet of fish sandwich? That's disgusting. The filet of fish sandwich is a fried
Mhm.
Atlantic cod with a layer of American cheese. That's nasty. But I could hear him answering me saying, because it's delicious. Because of can you just, and he talked about it in such a way. And his friends said, Ray Kroc was such a good salesperson. He can make that hamburger tastes like the most amazing steak. You talk about it in such a way that you wanted in on that. You wanted to open a location. You wanted to work. And same thing, like I read Sam Walton, Grinding It Out, or not Grinding Out, Made in America, right? Founder of
Right.
Walmart. I
Yeah.
went to school with one of his grandsons, Benjamin Walton. And even though I never met Sam Walton in person, I've heard so many stories and I've read his book. And there's a point in his book where he said, as we were expanding like crazy, because they started with the five and dime and buying sorts of cheap things in Arkansas, and they grew to find cheap things and set the price floor and become the low price leader. And as they were expanding, he got deeper and deeper into debt because they had to take out more and more loans.
Yep.
Yet on the outside, it looked like Walmart was becoming so successful because they were growing all these stores everywhere and
Right.
expanding and
Right.
all that kind of stuff. But deep down inside, he felt the pressure increasing because his debt got higher and higher and his health was worse and worse and he
Yeah.
wasn't spending time with his family, and on the outside it looked like he had all this money and whatever. And then at the end of the book I was hoping that it would change, but I was having this conversation, this theoretical conversation with him saying,
Right.
Sam, but if you did it another way,
Mm.
would you have not done Walmart, or would you have expanded slower, or would you have hired a number two, or would you have taken out a little bit money earlier? Because I know you said that in order to set the price floor and show that Walmart cares about being super frugal,
Yeah.
they can't spend money on the private jets, and their offices are just the most ramshackle, cheap hotel looking sort of
It's
like
very true. Uh-huh.
they live cheap, right? They don't
They
pay their
do.
people all that much compared to tech. But would you have changed that? What would have happened if you changed that, Sam? So he and I would have these theoretical conversations. Obviously, I didn't talk to him,
Mhm.
but I would pretend to have these conversations with him.
Yep.
And then by the time I got to the end of the book, when he's about to die, and he talks about how he regrets not spending more time with his family. I'm like, okay, I do have your answer, right? But I felt like we had the conversation in advance of him telling me the answer. So I've had hundreds of conversations with these people theoretically, but I've had hundreds of real conversations with people. I've been very lucky to meet these people. For real, I've had these conversations. I've flown a million miles in first class. And I love asking people in first class, so why are you in first class? You know that bigger seat and the meal isn't worth the extra $1,500. And so you get the most amazing stories. And then I ask them, why do they do what they do? It's not even fair the number of conversations I've been able to have. And all of this goes back into me getting a better understanding. I have this ball of twine
Mhm.
and or like gumball, whatever, and I keep adding to it and it gets bigger and bigger. And somebody gives me a piece of gum to put on it, and if it doesn't check out with my model, then I discard it. But every now and then you say something, "Ooh, it's John interesting. That's interesting what John said. Okay, I'm gonna add. Where does it fit? Where does it fit inside? Oh, it fits here. So my big thing is growing, right? This big structure. It's a singular structure inside my head. That's how I organize what's up here. But now I
It's
have more
all
resources
it's
and more
all about
mistakes. Yeah, yeah. And even like this Iron Man thing, I approach it the same way. So how do I swim faster? There's a technical component to your stroke and the
Mhm.
catch and this whole thing. There's a technical component to setting your bike the right way. There's a component to how your body processes carbohydrates and muscle recovery and all. I look at any particular thing. I have a guitar down there, and I learned there's a mechanical component to how you learn how to play a bar chord and build calluses and circle of fifths, right? All of these things that you learn. So everything I've learned, there's an approach to how to set up this microphone, right? And everything, I know there's a subjective, artistic, left brain, right brain thing, but I've always come at it from what's the thing that I feel very confident about? You can break down a complex problem into a checklist and then just repeatedly solve against that. Repeat the recipe over and over again. They're more interesting than these other people. I don't
Oh,
want to
it's so
talk to
much
the
fun
other
then.
high schoolers about what happened on Seinfeld. You could talk about, oh, so and so won the baseball game yesterday. Oh,
Yeah.
did you see so and so made the big catch? And you guys can talk about the weather and sports and all that. But meanwhile, I'm having these amazing conversations. I don't want to hang out with other 12-year-olds. I'm hanging out. I'm a 12-year-old hanging out with guys that are 70 or 80. Right? Yeah. 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 I wouldn't even know how to. I'm just an oyster where the sand got in here and I made a pearl out of it.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's drive. I think all of us have drive. I think it's direction. I think if you give people direction, everyone has the drive. It's not motivation. I don't need to Tony Robbins walk on coals my way to get there. I think I do have a certain level of like grit because we're all endurance athletes and run marathons and climb up these inclines and things like that. So
Right.
there's a certain level of whatever you want to call that. But I don't think it's that. I think it's you take a seed, and if you put the seed in the right soil, not in the thorns, not in the briars, not in the right soil, it'll grow, all that, right? I believe we all have the seed.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm doing it. And for those who can hear the dog whistle, you know what I'm saying, okay? For those who don't, I'm just talking about gardening. I like to slip those things in there without saying it, right? Yeah. Before ChatGPT, and I still have these conversations. So I'll go on a walk outside and I'll open up the ChatGPT and I'll have conversations with it, just like the conversations I've had for the last 40 years.
Yeah. That's
It's
amazing.
very familiar.
Yeah. So I'm gonna
Okay.
do just a little bit here. What the heck is up with cocoon water? How do you get you're teaching all these people these things. You're learning so many different things.
Yeah. It's
You
actually
get
the
into
same thing
this.
because everything has to be provable. It has not just because someone told me, not just because other people said it's the right thing, not just because I think it might be a good.
Right.
I need to see the proof. I need to see your oxygen levels. I need to measure it. I need to see it in my body. I need to see the improvement. I need to see bioavailability. I need to see studies that are done. So I think it was Arthur Clarke, was it? Who you can Google and find out that said that modern technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Mm.
What is magic? What did people 3,000 years ago, if you showed them an iPhone, they would say it was sorcery or witchcraft. And you could
Mhm.
say, no, there's this thing, it talks to the satellites, and there's a way that everything works, the way the camera works. There's an actual explanation. I believe that for almost anything, there's an explanation,
Mhm.
right? I can go into all sorts of detail about things that don't make any sense, and there's a real explanation behind it.
Yep.
Cocoon water, same thing. There is oxygen in this water. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to have faith. You just need to drink some and then measure your tissue. Tomorrow morning, we're going to measure your
Yep.
tissue level, not your blood oxygen, your tissue level oxygen. And okay, fine. So machine says that your tissue level oxygen is higher. So what?
Yeah.
Maybe we go and we do a hike. Maybe we do something that's aerobic. Maybe you measure a little difference. Maybe there's a 5-mile bike ride that you like to do all the time. That's your baseline.
Yep.
And now you do it after doing this and you randomize between sometimes it's this, the placebo, and if there's an impact.
Mm.
Just like the scientific method, you're testing pills or cancer treatments. Same thing for this. They've done this, right? So I'm a believer because it's not that this painting is beautiful and that's subjective on whether I believe John believes the painting's beautiful.
Right.
I can't win that way. I need definitive. I need to know that
Yep.
my oxygen levels have increased. I need to know that I can run faster. I need to know that the scans show that my cancer has gotten smaller. I need to see evidence, everything. So
Mhm. Mhm.
this is no different. And I came into this looking at this thing. I have no ownership. I have
Yeah.
no whatever. I'm a customer like all these other people, right? I
Yep.
love to invite people to Vegas. I pay for their baths. I'd like to do that. I have my credit card on file because I love to see other people grow. And I believe everyone has some level of, or you call it discipleship, or you could call it a ministry,
Mhm.
right?
Mentorship.
Ministry is not just telling everyone about the Bible and you're going to go to hell unless you repent.
Mhm.
Ministry, it's loaves and fishes, it's education, it's housing, it's what are the things that you can do to make people's lives better? That's ministry. So if I know something that actually helps people with their health, that helps them live longer, that helps them not die because of that chronic illness, I have an obligation to share that. So if you have a gift of digital marketing, a gift of prophecy, a gift because you're the strongest man in the world, a gift because of like some skill that you have an obligation to share that. How selfish if you just hoard this gift and you don't share it with other people. Yeah, you can't put it under the bushel, all of that. We all have gifts. What are the gifts? Leverage it. I'm very good at the whole data analysis thing, right? Why wouldn't I teach that? I'd say I was just like them. When I was a child, I thought Michael Jordan or Elon Musk or whoever these other people are, they just seem so successful and so perfect. And I could never be like that, right?
Yeah.
I could never go to Harvard. I could never speak on stage. I could never make $1 million. I could never see myself owning a Lamborghini. I could never. And so it's a self image thing. But here's the answer. First, choose the thing that you want to achieve. Maybe it's, I want to start an agency and make $10,000 a month. That seems to be like the number for some reason. Young adults want $10,000, right?
Okay.
Most people want to do the $10,000 a month. Okay, great. That's the goal. Find other people that have done it. Not other people who are selling courses on it, but people who've done it. Sit down with them, have lunch with them, follow them. Be around the other people that have done the thing. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the time with.
Sure.
And
Yep.
pretty soon you'll realize that those people are just normal people like you. I used to think that when I was in middle school, because this is Asian kid, I'm thinking going to Harvard's like the thing. I had perfect SATs. I almost had a perfect SAT, good grades, all that, right? Harvard. You think that people go to Harvard must be like these angelic, perfect people. And the first time I met people from Harvard, I'm like, you got into Harvard? Dude, I know more than you. And now, 40 years later, I interview people who have Harvard MBAs. Or when I was at Yahoo, I'm interviewing people from
Right.
Harvard or Berkeley. I'm not hating on Harvard, okay? I'm just using that as an example. And I'm interviewing them and I'm thinking, these are just normal people. I've met presidents of the United States.
Yep.
I've met CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. And the first time I was intimidated. I'm having dinner with the CEO of Allstate Insurance. What if he judges me and reveals that I don't know anything and I'm really dumb? And he was the nicest guy. Right? And I don't think he was just being fake nice to me. But when you've actually been around these other people, you realize they're normal people and you think, and then the thought happens, you know what? I could do that too. 2 nights ago, I'm not going to reveal his name, but he sold his company for $300 million. And he calls me up at 3:30 in the morning and he's drunk. And he has this idea. He wants to raise $7 million for this. Once people make a lot of money, they start investing in other companies and
Yeah.
they become like this chronic addicted, start more companies kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So he had another one. He says, Dennis, you want to invest with me on this new company? And clearly he was drunk and clearly whatever, but this guy is super connected. Guy has plenty of money. As far as anyone else knows, this guy is very successful. You probably know who he is, but I'm not going to say his name because it's embarrassing. But then I've spent time with him, just hanging out with him in New York. And I realize this is a normal human being. He's still very intelligent. He
Yep.
still achieved all those things that have happened. But when I'm around him as a human, I see all his foibles. I see him stumble. I see him slur words. I see him say goofy things. I see him make fun of Donald Trump. I don't know, whatever it is, I see him as a human being, right? I see him forget his keys. And this is that forgot his keys? How can that person who's so perfect, who is in this, I put him in this ideal box because he has this achievement and a couple of achievements that are tied to that achievement. But he knows, and he had dinner last night with Steve Bannon or whatever. He's like, how, then it's, oh my goodness, this guy's such a big deal. And then you hang out with him. And I'm not saying treat celebrities like they're nobodies, but just realize that people who've achieved something are just like you and me. So Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak founded Apple, arguably the most successful product
Absolutely.
company ever, whatever, Apple, right? Think of Apple. And I talked to Steve Wozniak, co-founder, not as big as Steve Jobs, but those are
Right.
the two Steves, right? And I can play a video that he made for me. Made a 3-minute long video just for fun. And it says, Dennis, congratulations on your thing. And advice I'd give you, you can even do a search for Steve Wozniak, Dennis Yu, you'll find the video. It's probably on YouTube. And he says, the advice I can give you as a founder is it's not what it looks like. Because I
Mhm.
can tell you, Steve Jobs and I, there are times when we thought everything was going to fall apart, where we didn't have any money and things were just like all over the place and it was a disaster. But if we can do it, and we were the guys who built Apple, and now Apple is, everyone's got an iPhone. But if you saw, and this is the advice he gave me, he said, if you saw how things actually were when we started Apple, you would realize that this is possible. And this is not some BS motivational speech. This is from the guy himself telling me this personally. He told me this. I didn't read it in some book somewhere or some TED talk. He told it to me,
Yeah.
and I have it on video. I told him about my situation. I told him we're helping these other agencies scale. These young adults are trying to build the next big thing, and they say they could never build an Apple, and or do you have to be an asshole like Steve Jobs to succeed? Or what? And so he answered that. I have a friend of mine. His name is Elias Bar 2, and he wants to be a bodybuilder. The guy must be like 110 pounds, 6'1". He's super skinny. He's like a toothpick, okay? And his idol is obviously all the big bodybuilders. Ronnie
Right.
Coleman, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jay Cutler. I happen to know Jay Cutler. So Jay Cutler made a video. I can play it on my phone,
Mhm.
and it says, "Hey, my buddy Dennis wanted to give you a little encouragement. Elias, dude, I totally get it. You just turned 16. And I'm telling you, man, when I started bodybuilding, I had ups and downs. I got injured. I was confused. And it wasn't until 10 years later, after all this working, they see I've won Mr. Olympia 5 times, all this kind of stuff, right? I don't know how many times, 8 times he's won Mr. Olympia, some crazy number of times.
Yeah.
Okay. Look him up. You can see. And here he is. He's freaking Jay Cutler. And he's giving my buddy, he says, my buddy Dennis wanted to give you he wanted me to give you some advice, and here's my advice. And he did this whole went in depth about what his life was like. He says, even today you might think, because I'm now super successful and I have my own supplement line and all this, even I have hard days.
Yeah.
Even I have to deal with nonsense.
Mm.
Even I didn't have enough sleep last night, so I'm tired, but now I got to go to this meeting and do this other thing. And he's explaining in very real terms, and you realize that's Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
That guy is at the very top in the world of bodybuilding. Even Jay Cutler has problems. Shoot, he has the same problems I do.
Mhm.
Okay, now I'm motivated, right? That's what creates the motivation. It's the realization. It's not because I'm more determined than other people. You see what I mean? It's a reframing. It's the context. Yeah. Yeah. I see myself winning in other people. And
Mm.
the mentors I've seen, like Al Casey, who's the CEO of American Airlines, I would go up to his office, and other people wouldn't wanna go up there because that's like a dangerous spot. It's the CEO's office, he could fire you. This
Yeah.
guy's so important. He's talking to senators and dealing with government kinds of these airline 2,000, twenty
Yeah.
thousand employees and all these things going on. And so I would just hang out with him, and it'd be super chill. And it would be like hanging out with a friend, like we're just hanging out. I have another friend, I won't do the name dropping, but he's a billionaire. He's the guy who funded Costco and Best Buy. He's the one who put the money in, right? And we would just hang out at one of the condos that he owns. He owns like ski lodges and things like that. And we're just hanging out, eating lobster or going to Costco and we're just hanging out. And I'm not at all intimidated by him at all. Yet you see these people that you name them, they seem like they're just way up there. But if you realize what it was actually like, they are actually very accessible. And this is not to say go out and try to reach out to Elon Musk or hang out with whoever. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying go try to find Jeff Bezos' cell phone. That's not what I'm saying. But you can find these other mentors, and if you approach it the right way, they will help you. And because I see people that are successful, they give back because they realize that once you've made some money or whatever, and because you hear these people say, "Oh, money isn't everything." Once you've made, oh, that's easy for you to say because you made all the money.
Right.
But you realize that there's this multiplier. Like money, if you give someone money, you have less now. That's just how the math works. But if you mentor and if you help by publishing your knowledge, that multiplies. The more people who learn how to use my dollar a day strategy, that's not less on me. There's people who have taken my training on dollar a day and ripped me off straight up and tried to sell those courses. And people are like, Dennis, so and so stole exactly your dollar. Awesome. That's just validating the concept. That's making it more powerful. That's mentorship without actually being there. You can mentor someone without actually. And people have come up to me saying, I know we've never met before. It's going to seem creepy, but I've been following your stuff the last 7 years and I grew my agency because of what I learned from you. And I feel like I owe you a debt, even though we've never met, because I've never paid you any money and I've used all your things and I've grown my company. And that's just such a cool thing, right? When
Mhm.
you see that. I just want to give those people a hug when they come up to me. It's so cool. I'm not afraid of all this other stuff.
Mhm.
And then you realize there's actually a structure to mentorship. So there's like putting your information out there for free, showing exactly how you do stuff, not my personal hero's journey story, but like actual valuable things that people can follow. Then there's one-on-one mentorship, which is great. So I mentor a few people privately, and a lot of people do that through masterminds. You have to pay a lot of money and whatever. And then there's this group mentorship, and there's train the trainer kind of mentorship based on the underlying SOPs that other people can follow. So, ironically, or unfortunately, Tony Robbins popularized this model where you create a certification program and other people go through it, get certified, and they train other people, and it creates almost an MLM kind of thing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying put your stuff out there for free. Everything you know, put it out there for free. Charge for your time. Time you never get back, but still be willing to open doors for other people. But if you put everything out there for free, your time becomes worth more. You can do more with that time. But other people say, hey, I want one-on-one time with you. Yeah, but that's not what that is. Oh, no, but you do mentorship. So you do one-on-one coaching for anyone on the planet for free, right? No, that's not what I'm saying. No, but I thought you help anybody because you want, no, that's not what I'm saying. If you follow the mentorship, if you want to be a mentor, publish your recipes. See who's following it. You're freaking Mrs. Fields and you've got a chocolate chip cookie recipe, who's going to follow your recipe? If they follow the recipe and they actually make delicious chocolate chip walnut cookies or whatever, then your recipe works. If they can't follow the recipe, then it's the wrong oven, or they're not properly trained, or you didn't teach them properly how to use the oven, or something there, right? But I know, based on the 150 courses we have out there, that a lot of the stuff we teach works. But because of Dunning-Kruger and whatnot, or people's mental, like they don't want to do it, or it's like teaching people to run their first 5K. I try to get them to run the first mile, but they have all these excuses about why they can't put their running shoes on. Or our barrier is this whole subjective, not willing, stuck in this old person's way of thinking, not willing to try it. I've always did it this way the last 20 years. I'm too old to do it. Social media is not for me. I don't want to be a public figure. I can't make a 1-minute video. It needs like there's all these barriers that get in the way that prevent mentorship, that prevent growth. And so I'm all about like relationships and connecting and whatever, but there needs to be a balance. I believe in a structural, verifiable, do math, achieve the recipe kind of thing. I believe most of the coaching out there is like motivating and you can do it. And yeah, but what about the freaking process? Both, right? Start with the thing that you want to do and who's achieved the thing you want to do. It's that easy, and call them. Steve Sims, I asked him, Steve Sims wrote a book, Blue Fishing, and shows how do you create the most amazing experiences because he's hanging out with Elton John and Richard Branson and doing all these things. And I asked him, I saw him at a conference and I said, so Steve, you're just a bricklayer from London, you say. Yet I see you hanging out with Elon Musk at the Gigafactory or whatever. How did you possibly become friends with this person? And he said, Dennis, you know the answer. Just ask. I don't know, there must be a secret because I'm sure he gets asked millions. No, Dennis, you didn't hear me. Just ask. That's it. But don't ask Elon Musk. Ask the person who's, unless you want to build a Tesla or whatever it is. Like, the difficulty is not that these people are so famous they won't give you the time or you don't have the money. People will say they have all these excuses. The issue is you've not clarified with extreme specificity the goal you want to achieve. And if you broadcast that, if I look at your Facebook or LinkedIn or website and it's not clear, the thing that you want to do, oh, I just want to maximize my skills and apply them in the best way at a company that respects that sounds like a resume bullet, right? What is the thing that you want to do? I want to be so good at Google AdWords for plumbers. So that naturally will start attracting plumbers and people to do Google ads. You have to be super specific. The magnifying glass, turning the sunlight into the flame, like all those analogies, right? It's not that people don't want to be a mentor. It's not a pickup artist on how do you approach it. What's the secret line that you say, hey, baby, do you want to be a mentor? No. It's because you know how many people have come to me? I'm sure they come to you too. And they say, hey, can you teach me the secret to make my first $1 million? You're barking up the wrong tree. Create $10 million of value. That's how you make $1 million. What can you do that's repeatable, that creates value for somebody? Who has done that thing? How do you make it more repeatable? You do it yourself. Have you documented how you do it? Okay, now hire 10 people to do the same thing.
It almost sounds too easy.
But they don't do it because they're not logical. That Dunning-Kruger thing get in the way again, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ray Dalio wrote a book called Principles, which is all about that. And it's all about logical thinking and seeing around your blind spots. And he takes 500 pages to say something that could be said in 10 pages, right? Because you put in the time and research to show that. People who have done no research and are super lazy will say, oh, you know what? I Googled you and found that you're really good at Facebook ads. Will you go ahead and teach me how Facebook ads work and all that? No, that's lazy. People like me don't have time to teach that. But if you say, hey, I've gone through your $1 a day training, watched all your free YouTube videos and all that, and I'm trying to grow a digital marketing agency. And I know that you say specifically choose one kind of company. I've chose painting companies. I have this one client, and there's this one issue that I'm trying to struggle with in this campaign. Can you help me? Yes, I'll help you. very specific, but it also shows the respect that they put in the time to take a look.
Yep.
And I know a lot of other people who mentor just like me. And Jeremy Ryan Slate says the same thing. I'll help other people build their podcast and whatnot. If you put in the respect to follow what they do, not just ask stuff. Because if the answer is easily Googleable, I'm not going to mentor you, because it shows, because that means
Yeah.
you're going to depend. People tell me, oh, Dennis is so smart. He knows so much. You don't need to use Google. You can just ask Dennis. Just DM Dennis anytime you have a question, and he'll stop whatever he's doing and answer your question, because it's so easy. Like, why would you have to go through any of the training?
Yep.
And the last thing you want to do is encourage that. That's like enabling an addict. You want the people that can do the work, and then with a little bit of like mentorship is like a little bit of nudging, a little bit of encouragement, just slight adjustment, not I carry you, right? I'm not going to carry you. They're very coachable and they're very driven. There's something, I don't know. I know a lot of successful people, and I'll tell you the characteristic, and I'm sure you'll agree, is that they have a certain level of humility, right? I love Tommy Mello. He's on track to do $1 million a day within the next couple months and then be $1 billion company doing garage door stuff. Yet he will hire me for 2 or 3 days, one-on-one, just him and I, and pay a lot of money for that, right? Very coachable, doesn't know it all. And when we get together, I prepare stuff that I think is valuable for him and his team, and he listens versus goes on and on. Like other people that don't grow, they don't listen. They just want to, I'll just sit there. Like this one guy called me, I won't say his name, 2 hours ago, and he wanted help. And we spent 30 minutes on the phone, and he did 29 minutes of talking. I'd love to give you some feedback on this stuff, but fortunately you just talk the whole time, right? Like no like awareness of that. But to answer your question, I think with those people who are successful, something's happened in their life. It could be something dramatic that caused them to realize, you know what? There's something bigger than me. It's Jesus. It's my dad. It's a mentor. It's something that causes them to be coachable. I don't know what it is that causes people to be coachable, but if they're not coachable, the last thing I want to do is try to convince them of something. No, but we've always done it this way. I'm not here to convince you. Okay. Yeah. You can do it that way if you want, but if you don't respect me, then why are you coming to me? There's no limit to the positive encouragement that you can give them. So my friend, Brian Eisenberg, had his son was not very athletically gifted, but he wanted to play baseball. And he was chubby, wasn't coordinated a few years ago. But that's what his son wanted to do, is play baseball, because watch TV, heroes. And so Brian, instead of saying, son, you should try something else. You should try to be like a PPC person. But he found swing coaches, and he found other people that were baseball players. And he surrounded to take whatever it was that his son was interested in, and found other people that were pretty good at that, and sent him to the different camps to learn on how to pitch and how to get stronger and how to lift weights the right way, and got him a personal trainer and all that stuff. And now Sammy is 6'4", he's 280 pounds, and he's throwing fastballs at 98 miles per hour, some nonsense like that, right? And I'm so proud of Sammy. And when I knew Sammy, he was like up to here, and they had a basketball court. And we'd play basketball out there, and I would dunk on Sammy. Yeah. Now, Sammy's like this. I can't dunk on Sammy. Sammy can throw me. Yeah, because I have better technique probably. But the point is, for the advice for the young parents is, your kids are naturally interested in stuff. Fine, they're interested in playing video games. Then go to a video game conference, or find out the story of that company, or find out who are the top people who play Fortnite and what do they do. And there's a certain, just like athletes train, those Fortnite players actually have a thing where I didn't realize there's a technique on how you make your fingers faster. And that's wild, right? So help your kids go further. And it's not that kids are lazy. I have a friend of mine, I won't say his name because it's embarrassing. Anytime I have something bad, I'll try not to say their name. But he says, my kid is lazy, and he just sits around and watches social media all day. I'm like, Michael, that's not true. That might appear like it is, but your kid has interests. What are those interests? What are you doing to encourage those interests, instead of getting the kid to do? I know, Michael, you're an airline pilot, and you're trying to get your kid to become an airline pilot. That kid may or may not want to be an airline, and I understand you can make a lot of money as an airline pilot and all this, but your kid may or may not want to be an airline pilot. Your kid wants to do these other things. Encourage those other things. I think it's literally that simple. Yeah. Because then, when this kid doesn't show interest in wanting to fly an airplane, then the parent thinks, oh, this kid's not motivated. It's not it at all, for sure. Michael
Right.
Jordan had got cut from his varsity basketball team, even though he's 6'6", and event people tell the Michael Jordan story.
Yeah.
Or they tell the Andre Segovia story, or KFC, the guy started when he was like almost 70, became the colonel late in life. There's all these stories of people who weren't gifted that then became something amazing. And that's great. I love those stories. But there's something that's missing, and that is that you don't realize how much time they put in. And that's the number one indicator. And you'll hear all the experts say someone who puts in the time will beat someone who's an expert and has natural talent. So for me, you've heard of the 10,000 hour rule, right? That's been popularized. We put enough time, Simon Sinek, that whole thing.
Yep.
I put in 70,000 hours into digital marketing. And it's not, and it looks easy, doesn't it? Because you see me optimize campaigns. I do it live. I do it from stage. I show how to use the AI. It looks easy. 70,000 hours of experience. Steph Curry, right? He shoots 3-pointers. It looks really easy. So all these kids lob full court shots and they miss. Do you know how many hours, how many shots Steph Curry has taken? When you shake Steph Curry's hand, it feels like sandpaper. Because the guy is shooting 4 hours a day. Every shot you ever see him take has been he's practiced that shot many times. You don't see
Every single spot on
the
the
amount of
court.
practice. Usain Bolt, world record holder in the 100 meters, and he talks about he had to train 12 years, super hard, for his 9.7 seconds of fame, right? Then again, he's 6'7" and all that kind of. I mean, certain things you like. I could train all day. I'm never going to beat. But when it comes to things that don't require physical talent, the mind, you can follow a checklist. That's why I have checklists, because I see other people that have been super successful, and they'll say, "Oh, you just got to do what I do." I saw somebody. I'm not going to name him, but he's an email marketer, and he said, "If you follow my system, watch me in 1 hour as I make $1 million by sending out an email." So he crafts an email, sends it out to his list, and lo and behold, he sells $1 million worth of stuff. Yeah, but you also had a huge list. So I could write an email, and I'm not going to make $1 million. You can write a better email than him. I want to have checklists that any ordinary person can repeat and have success. It doesn't require you to be 6'6". Yeah, there's a parallel. I'm careful about that because that sounds a little too easy.
Okay.
If you put in the time, there's a process. If you understand the thing of mentorship, if you don't try to take shortcuts every time, then you can live well. You might not build the next Google, but a few $1,000s a month is not bad in Pakistan. $10,000 or $20,000 a month in the United States is very doable. You don't have to have a private jet billionaire lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with that. And I ask most of these young adults, and they tell me, yeah, I would be totally cool making $100,000 a year versus working 80 hours a week and making $1 million a year, but then I lose my health and family. And whenever I ask people to make the choice, they almost always choose, yeah, I'll make 100 grand a year and have a great life. And
Probably.
so people still want to argue with me. Come on. All kinds
timing.
of corporate nonsense. Look, when it was engineers, there was respect among other engineers, and we built stuff. And it was a prove it model. It was a data-driven model. And back then, we were all early 20s. Most of us didn't have kids. It was a small company. And we would stay until midnight and code and eat pizza. David Philo was a coworker. He was, at that point, the richest man in the world under 40. And we would eat pizza and we would code. And if you looked at his code, his variables were swear words, right? He probably, if there was HR, he would have gotten canceled, right? All kinds of stuff. If we tried to do that today, we would all have been canceled. Okay? But it was, we didn't know it was going to be the thing that it is today. So how did Yahoo go wrong? There were managers that somehow snuck in. Because when you become a public company, they want adult supervision. So they hire HR and they hired all these other people. And then pretty soon we have all these meetings, because that's what managers like to do. They like to have meetings. Right. And then people like me that like to actually code and build things. Now my calendar's freaking 7 meetings per day. There's no time to do any work. You just want me in meetings. Yeah. And I go to these meetings, there'd be 12 people in the meeting. And I'm like, who are you? None of you can write any code. Oh, I'm a marketing director. You are? What does that mean? What do you do? I'm a product manager. You manage products? What does that mean? Why don't you write some code? Why don't you show me your product by writing some code? No, we have to have a meeting to talk about that and wireframes and all this. And so what happens is that, and look, no making fun of saying marketing or product management or HR or whatever, but if your core is a search engine, you need to have people who are core to your core, who understand the data. You could have all these other people that do management, but pretty soon our ratio of managers to workers was like 8 or 10 to 1. Okay, fine, you have a group of people, but okay, fine, that's 100 people. But what about the 4,900 other people? What did they do? They're managers. And if you look at all their names, they're like manager of this and manager of that. What do you do? We have meetings. That's what managers do. So and then all the good people started to leave. And then we had Terry Semel come in as the CEO. He was the chairman of Warner Brothers. He would fly in Monday morning. I knew his driver, Jonathan, which I thought was hilarious. Jonathan would tell me all the secrets that was going on, all the deals. And Terry would always be trying to buy other companies because he wanted to grow through acquisition, through partnership. So the partnership with all the telecoms where we bundled the mail with your internet and all that, you could see it. That's what they did. And then us engineers became second class. And so Jonathan would drive up in the Range Rover, the black Range Rover, to the back of Building D3, which is the management building that we were in. And Terry would go hang out in the office, and I would hang out with Jonathan. Jonathan, what's up? Oh, where's Terry going? Oh, well, tomorrow he's going to go fly to the UK and he's going to meet with the people at British Telecom. Oh, okay. So that's what's up, huh? Okay. Yeah, and then he's going to do this. What else is going on? There's also this. He was like when I was driving him from the airport, he was arguing with this other guy about this one thing. What were they arguing about? They were arguing about the price of the whatever it was, right? So I knew I was like an insider. I never traded, okay? I was an insider. I never broke the law. But I knew what was going on. And it was all about deals. And that told me, as a builder, and the rest of us, that they didn't want to build things. I wanted to build food. You know, with like all the properties at Yahoo, I wanted to build food.yahoo.com. I wanted to build all these other properties, and they all got vetoed because the mentality was we're just going to partner with all these other people. So maybe we'll partner with Seamless Web or a Yelp before there was a Yelp or these. And like, why would we build our own thing?
Yep.
Because when you build your own thing, it can be integrated to the Yahoo platform and we can own it. We have a 300 million user base, but why would we partner? So Yahoo back then, if you remember, around 2001 or so, back when the big crash happened, they did all these partnerships and they bought. Remember, they bought Flickr, they bought other sorts of. How many of those partnerships worked out? Or those acquisitions worked out? None of them worked out. It spent billions of dollars, gave away all the equity, watered the thing down. Meanwhile, what kind of message do you think that sent to the engineers like us? And they were Yahoo engineers just like me. And they said, Dennis, come over here. I'm like, no, I'm staying at Yahoo. How dumb? Who is the dumb one now? So us who were engineers at Yahoo, we were the failed entrepreneurs. We were just the employees who couldn't get it going. And that was the joke among those of us who were still there at Yahoo. And he tried the political game to have all these meetings. Hey, we need to build this feature to help optimize on conversion performance and whatnot. Yahoo didn't want to hear it. So he started a company, sold it back 3 years later to Yahoo for $100 million. The feature that he said, let's build it.
Yeah.
All the time. That's not just one off. It's not a one-off story. It happened over and over again. I had ideas.
Yep.
And I was dumb. I was trying to build them inside Yahoo, fighting all these managers who had no idea what they were doing. They never built any code. They never launched a product before. Nothing wrong with your Harvard MBA and all that, but have you ever managed a P&L before? Yeah. Have you ever done SaaS before? Do you understand how that works? Connected the customer, yeah. No. I bring the requirements to the engineers, and I'm a product manager. Like, everyone's talking to the customer. Office space, right?
Exactly.
What's your favorite Michael Bolton song? What would you say you do here?
Yep.
Yeah. People want to touch the wet paint. Why would you want to fail and experience the same pain? Look, mentors would tell me stuff, all kinds of advice. I'm like, that's some old person giving me advice.
I know.
And now, 30 years later, I'm like, those old people were right. You know what? He's right. Focus on partnerships instead of being the know-it-all. Because I learned a lot from the 4,500 plus books. And part of it was maybe just to prove to myself that I could do it.
Hey, you want a mission.
Prove Ironman, prove that I could do it. But that's an ego thing. Imagine how much time I could have saved if I had just started by learning how to build relationships and know who instead of how. I felt I'm so far ahead in learning how to do all these different things in digital marketing and running ads that I'm just going to extend this lead. If you want to go fast, go alone. The African proverb. If you want to go far, go together. Right?
Yeah.
And I was just, I don't know, scared of other people. I felt like I didn't have the charisma. I had this thing in my head thinking people didn't like me. They don't want to hang around me. The only thing they would ever want to hang around me is because I'm really good at optimizing your ad campaigns. So, okay, give me your ad campaigns, John. Okay, I'll optimize them. Right? But they didn't want to hang around me. And then I realized 30 years later, there are people who actually, I know it sounds ridiculous, but there are people who actually want to hang around me, who care about me. And I don't have to be this achiever or have all these things to be worthwhile for other people to want to hang around.
Yeah.
We're hanging out. This is
Yeah.
so cool. That was fun. You're only as good as the people that you're around. And it's those authentic moments like we're going to go out and eat and whatnot. Digital is just an amplifier of the things that started in person. And the difference between people that are really successful, because I've been around these people to watch, versus people that fail but don't know what they're doing, is the successful people build relationships in person first. Then they use digital to maintain. And the other people try to meet people online first and then meet them at the conference. You need
So
to meet,
true.
like, we are meeting people. What would happen if we tried to do this, John, via Zoom?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the negotiator, FBI.